All right, everybody, welcome to Separation Nation, bringing another great podcast with more content. If you're enjoying the podcast, we hope you are. We're starting to hear from multiple people that are really getting a lot out of it, gaining value from it. That's the whole purpose of us coming together, John and I, and putting this podcast together. We want to help people know what the separators are and then be able to take action and initiative to implement those separators in their life to help them to be able to be, do, and have more. And so today we're going to be talking about, on the last podcast we actually talked about work-life balance. Today we're going to be talking about mental balance, balance as it pertains to you, your person, how you handle life, how you process life events, and how that affects the quality or takes away from the quality, adds to or takes away from that quality of life. And so today we're going to be talking about that. We want to remind you before we delve deep into it, though, make sure on your preferred platform that you're subscribing, like, share, tell a friend. Help us get the message of Separation Nation out there. We want to get as many people as possible on this train, gaining value from this content week in and week out. And make sure that if you're liking us on an audio platform, that you're going to our YouTube and also liking there, and vice versa. So let's get right into it. I'm going to make a statement here, or one or two statements, and then we'll kind of let John jump in, and we're just going to have fun with this topic. But been looking forward to this one specifically. But there's a quote that I got personally from the Ziegler Corporation out in Dallas quite a number of years ago, and it's one I've used and just reminded myself of in my own personal life. But life is like a bicycle, and in order to maintain balance, you have to keep moving forward. In other words, momentum. If at any point you let off the momentum, if you let off the gas, decrease your purpose, so to speak, when you're pedaling that bicycle, we all know what's going to happen. You're going to crash. You're going to fall over. So balance, in order to keep it, you have to have purpose, is what that tells us. You got to have a destination. You got to know where you're going. You can't slack off with the momentum, because you'll end up crashing, imploding. Something negative is going to happen. And you and I have watched people wreck their lives multiple times because they give up, they quit, they sit there, they dwell, they ponder, why didn't this work out? Why didn't that work out? And I'll say this before I turn it over to you. It's important to understand that when you're moving forward, your life, there's a reason that the windshield in your vehicle is way, way larger than your rearview mirror. The rearview mirror is just there for a glance. If you focus too long on that rearview mirror, you're going to wreck the vehicle. You're going to crash. You never were intended to give that rearview mirror your focus. That's supposed to be just for a glance occasionally. If you want to glance back on the past, that's fine. But where you need to be focused on is your future. You need to be looking through that windshield, moving forward, excited about the future, excited about what's to come, and having a purpose and a plan for your life.
Well, it's kind of like, you learn from your past, you live in your present, but you're always facing your future. And one thing that has held true in my life, I know this, 90% of the problems, at least 80% of the problems that I would face or do face can be solved by one simple thing: just go to work. Just get up and go to work every day, day in and day out. Be consistent no matter what's going on in my world, no matter what's going on, good or bad. If I'll continue to build, because listen, as long as you're building, as long as you're moving forward, and like you said, momentum, that's probably one of the most powerful forces anyone can have is momentum. I've said this in business, I've said it many times: do everything you can do to get momentum, and then once you've got momentum, do everything you can do to protect that momentum. Because once you establish momentum, you've got it, absolutely got it. But then you have to do everything you got to do to protect it. And then the way you protect momentum is just through consistency. Continue to do what you've always done that's been positive. Continue to keep doing those positive things, learning new things, of course, but keep that momentum going and protect it. Idle hands is the devil's workshop. We've all heard that saying. It holds true. When you sit around, when you get stagnant or you get lackadaisical or you get still, it's like that still small voice. It can be a good thing, but that still small voice can also be a bad thing.
Be a tormentor.
It could be a tormentor. But you don't get a still small voice if you ain't still. So when you start dwelling on all of these problems and all of the things from the past, what could have been, how my life could have been different. I wish I hadn't have made that mistake. I wish I hadn't have dated that person. Wish I hadn't have married that person. Wish I hadn't have made that financial decision. Wish I hadn't invested in that company. All of those things happen, and all of those things you start dwelling on when you get still. So if that's going to happen when you get still, then don't get still. Keep moving. Just go to work. Stay busy.
Well, you're not. Here's the thing. You're designed for accomplishment, engineered for achievement, and endowed with the seeds of greatness. That's who we are. That's who you are. When you're listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, you got to understand who you are. And at the base level, that's who you are. You were designed for accomplishment. You were engineered for achievement. You were endowed with the seeds of greatness. You were made to go out and do something. You were made to take massive action. You were not made to sit around. There's more to life than getting up, going to school, getting you a job somewhere, and working to pay bills until you die. There's a heck of a lot more life out there than that. There's more to life than that. There's a higher quality of life than that. God wants you to have more than that. I'm sure the people that love you, that's in your circle in your life, they should want you to have more than that. And it's important to realize we're more than we've become. But let me tell you something. If you take a boat, you go buy your brand new boat anywhere and park it in a slip somewhere in a marina, and that thing's going to develop barnacles and trash and nastiness is going to grow on and around it. It's going to get filthy. Worst thing you can do with a boat is not drive it. You talk about problems we'll create as a former boat owner and a proud non-boat owner now.
What's boat stand for? Bring on another 1,000?
That's correct. The best 2 days.
Unless you got a big boat, then it's bring on another 10,000.
The best 2 things about a boat is initially the day you buy it and then the day that you sell it. And you get rid of the thing. But anyway,
I wish you'd buy another one so I could go out on your boat.
I have to live on the water. I don't live on the water no more. So. But I will say that as a side note, if you live on the water, it's worth it to have you on boat if you enjoy it. If you don't live on the water, just rent one somewhere. Take my word for it, okay? And let somebody else deal with the problems after you head out. But if you don't have the vehicle functioning in the manner it was designed for, you're inviting trouble and problems and dysfunction, okay? A vehicle, if it sits too long, a plane, if it just sits, then it's not. Planes were made to fly. Boats were made to go through the water. Vehicles and you were made to build something, to be creating something. And so you can't sit around and expect to not encounter problems and not get in your head and get all your feelings. Listen, stay out of your feelings, man. There ain't no money in there.
There ain't no money.
There ain't no prosperity. There's no money. Get the hell out your feelings and get busy building something and doing something. Even if you feel like I would rather be doing the wrong thing and taking action than sitting back and doing nothing, hoping for the right thing to come along. How many people you see? I know preachers and just to give you an example, they want to be a famous megachurch pastor so bad, but then they're sitting there, and I know for a fact, for a decade solid, they've been on government support. Now, and I'm not getting off on preachers. I can be anybody.
Or government support. Some people need it.
Or government. So it's there for a reason for some people to need it. There's a lot of people that don't need it. They ride it like a gravy train. But all that being said, they're sitting there, and at some point you got to face the fact that you got to take your hands and you got to go to work and you got to do something meaningful, even if it's not necessarily. You can't sit back and wait for the perfect job, the perfect environment, the perfect circumstance. God bless his work. And if you'll just find something to do, preferably something that's going to make you the most money, take the best option and go and work what's in your hand. Use what's in your hand. If it's a jawbone, use it. If you ain't got a little bit of meal left in you, go bake a cake. Do something to use some biblical analogies. But man, go pick up something, go do something. And if you'll just do that, what I found in my life is God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, blesses it. And as long as you're taking action forward, you'll get pulled into the right lane of where you need to be. But you're not going to get nowhere but sitting there second guessing yourself and by dwelling and waiting for the perfect circumstance to come along. The perfect circumstance, the magic bullet, the magic pill, it don't exist.
Well, I think a lot of people just get hung up on what am I supposed to do with my life. You know, I'm not saying I don't believe in a calling, because I do. But sometimes you're not supposed to find that. Sometimes it finds you. I know I started my career in construction. I actually worked in construction, framing houses, roofing houses, whatever, until I figured out I had a gift, a little bit of a salesperson inside of me. And then I transitioned from actually, back in the 90s, vinyl siding was a big deal, vinyl siding and replacement windows. So I worked on a crew that would come in and put vinyl siding on houses, usually older houses that had wood siding or whatever. And then we would replace the windows with vinyl windows, just a real big trend that was going on at that time. And anyway, the people I worked with realized that as good as I was as a laborer helping to install that, I was even better dealing with the customers. They could trust me calling me when I was done with the job, actually negotiating prices and talking with customers. So anyway, I found myself in a sales position, which I liked a lot better. I didn't have to physically work half as hard. I made twice as much money, but I kind of backed into the sales career. And then I kind of backed into the insurance business and backed into the financial services business. I didn't find any of these careers, they found me. And over the last 20 years of being in the financial services business, I've not once questioned, is this what I'm supposed to be? I don't know that I was called to do it. I don't know that I actually didn't pick this career. It picked me. A lot of the things in life, they picked me, but it was because I was available. I made myself available, and I never sat still. From the time I graduated high school on through college, I've always worked. I've never slowed down. I've always give 100% to the best of my ability at whatever career or job I was at. And I never questioned that. And I never had time. And the times I can go back in my life and I can say were dark times or times where I got depressed. And I'm not belittling depression. I know it's a real thing. I know it can be chemically, it can be a chemical problem. I know there's a lot of people that need to seek all kinds of different helps, whether it be medication or counseling or whatever. I believe in all of that. I've never experienced it at that level, but the levels of depression that I have experienced, the levels, the times that I have gotten, felt like I was living my life in a hole or been down, were times when I almost got still, when I got my focus off what I was doing. Because like you said, we were created to conquer. We were created to build. Even if you want to get biblical, God created Adam and Eve. If you believe in that, God created Adam and Eve, and he said, work and tend this garden I'm giving you. But the command was to work. I believe God created us to work. I don't believe that the end result is to be able to quit. I believe we should always be moving. And I've worked in financial services business with people approaching retirement age. And I can tell you this, I've met people that retire from their job, healthy as can be, then sit still for 5 years and age more than you could ever imagine. I believe sitting still is one of the worst things we can do in our life. And I'm not saying you shouldn't ever retire. I'm not saying you shouldn't ever pass the baton or hand over the reins to someone else. But I'm saying even in retirement, stay busy, stay active, stay busy.
Well, there's always something to do. You never arrive. I don't know any truly successful individual that ever gets to a point and says, well, I'm just going to quit working altogether. I'm going to do nothing. I'm just going to sit around and do crossword puzzles every day. People of purpose and people of destiny, people that understand and know what it takes to be able to become not just successful, but significant in their lives, understand that it's selfish to sit back. You can always help more people. You can always make more money. And the fact of the matter is, the more money you make, the more people you can help, because it takes real dollars nowadays to be able to go out and to bring significant change in most cases. That don't matter if you want to go on the mission field, if you want to help somebody that's in a difficult financial time, if you want to give to your favorite charity, if you want to cook somebody a meal. You got to be able to afford to go buy an extra set of groceries to buy a meal for somebody other than your own family. It takes real finances. It takes real work. And so, to piggyback off what you said with that, I mean, when I look back at my life, the most depressing time of my life is when I was sitting around every evening because a lot of stuff, didn't work out the way I wanted it to. I end up in a whole different industry, but at that time, I'm realizing that everything I thought I was going to do and everything I thought I was building is beginning to crumble. This was around 2008. The economy's changing, turning against us, and and I'm sitting there, and so you get mad with people, you get pissed off with God, and you sit there, and I sit every evening and listen to music, and have a cocktail or two, and think or three, or at that time maybe 8 or 10. And sit there and listen to music, and
I believe you did that,
and just get all. I don't know. It seemed like I had a partner in that, but he might have on a green shirt. I don't know. But sitting back, basically just thinking, okay, here's where my life has come, and I'm looking in the rearview mirror. Okay, I'm making that my focus. I'm focusing on all the stuff I thought was going to work out this way, should have worked out this way, and I'm realizing that it didn't. And oh my God, what I'm going to do, and who can I blame? And and at the end of the day, life happens. I love that quote from the movie Tombstone, which, by the way, is one of the greatest movies that's ever been made in history.
I agree.
And you're sitting there with Doc Holliday and Wyatt, and Doc looks at Holliday and says, Wyatt, there is no normal life. There's just life. Now get on with it. And while people do have real, as you said, real chemical issues, real battles with depression, we're not demeaning that whatsoever. And we'll do more episodes and probably even bring in some professionals. We'll do more stuff on mental health here in the probably near future, because it's a real issue. They say now 3 out of every 5 individuals you come in contact with has some type of mental health issue they deal with. And do I believe a lot of it is an actual natural problem? Yes. But I also believe, and I personally know a lot of people that have not been diagnosed with something, but basically because they went into a season of life of dwelling and focusing too much on the wrong things, work them. You can dig yourself a ditch if you want to. We're all 5 minutes from depression, depending on what we want to focus on and what we think on. But we need to be making the positive, the pure, the power of the positive, our futures, our family, what things are going right. Think on these things. You got to focus on the positive things, because dwelling is deadly. If you sit there and you dwell, I was talking to a guy, who asked me several weeks back, was going through a difficult situation. He said, I need help here. How do you make a decision, pull the trigger on something, and never look back? I need to learn how to do that. Which, by the way, is one of the key fundamental characteristics of a leader, leadership. If you want to be a leader, you're going to have to learn how to be able to pull the trigger, move forward, and not look back. You can't second guess yourself. If you're wrong, you're wrong, but you can correct it in the future. The good news is we have tomorrow. Right. Tonight will really end tonight. Today will end. We'll go to sleep. We'll get up tomorrow, and there's a new day full of new opportunity. But he said, how are you able to make that decision? Because I feel stuck in between. And I told him, I said, man, the in between, if you've watched Ghost Hunters like I do, sometimes they refer to the in between, okay? And I said, man, the in between, I said, that's where ghosts live, and you ain't dead yet. And you're sitting there. You're not made to be in the in-between. You're not made to look in the rearview mirror. You're made to look forward, because anytime you begin to dwell in life, you're invited to look back. Invites double-mindedness. You got to pull the trigger. You got to move forward. You got to make a decision, and you got to stick with it, good, bad, or indifferent. And you got to put yourself out there. Even like we said earlier, even if you're on the wrong road, just get out there and do something. The more hands you shake, the more money you make. The more people that you run into, the more opportunity is going to be around to be able to find you. But you can't cower back and sit in the cave, suck your thumb, sit in the corner and say, I'm just going to sit here and die because life didn't work out for me. You got 2 choices. Get up and live. There's just life, Wyatt. Now get on with it. Or you can sit back in the corner and just say, well, I'm going to sit here and nurse my wounds the rest of your life. But you cannot make the fatal mistake of looking back. And I'll say this before I turn it back to you on this, but, don't make the fatal mistake of looking over your shoulder when you're ahead about to cross the winner's line. You can't be afraid. Winners are never afraid to run out in the front alone.
That's right.
And what we see and what we've seen in business, how many people have we seen that start phenomenally. They got a great career, but they can't focus forward. They're this close. They don't even realize it. Their chest is about to break through the tape, but they start looking over their shoulder. Who's coming up on me? Who's behind me? Who maybe is about to take advantage of me? Who might be about to do me wrong? What were they really saying when they meant this? If I had done this and took this other path back here 10 years ago, would my life be different? I wouldn't have had to. Listen, man, I mean, misery is inevitable. Trouble is definite. You might as well move on, get on with it, move forward, and go. Don't focus on the past memories. Yeah, can you glance back from time to time and say, man, Christmas '89 was good. Grandma and Grandpa were still living, and we had some good times back then. But that's about all the attention you need to give it. I don't recommend breaking out all of the VHS tapes and pouring you a glass of wine and sitting there and wallowing in all that. If family's a big deal to you or whatever it may be, but you just give it a glance, you acknowledge it, you're thankful for it, understanding that's helped form you and make who you are today. But you move forward, man. You focus on what new memories can I make? What new obstacles can I go face and tackle and overcome and be victorious over? What new memories can I make? What new destinations can I go to with my family? You got to focus on forward. You were made to go forward. Your eyeballs is in front of your head, not the back.
Well, I think it's like you said, a lot of times people, they're worried they're on the wrong road. Well, as long as you're on the road, that's the main thing. Even if you're on the wrong road, you might see that what you think is the wrong road may be the right road later on. You just can't see it while you're headed down it. I mean, how many times have I been on a destination trying to get somewhere I haven't been before, and I second guess myself. I think I'm on the right road. I'm not sure. None of this looks familiar. I don't remember the house, and then all of a sudden you see something. Oh, yep, I knew I was right where I needed to be. It happens all the time. I'll say this on this particular subject. One thing a lot of people deal with is being done wrong in the past by certain people, whether it's being in a bad marriage and blaming your ex for the next 10 years of your life. Well, you can blame them for the last 10 years of your life, but now you can't blame them for today and tomorrow and the next day. The boss that fired you, or the boss that did you wrong, or the bad business deal, or this or that, or the spouse that cheated on you and all that, they can do you harm. But the only person ultimately that can determine whether you ultimately succeed or fail is you. It's on you in life. Now, you can blame it on anybody you want to. You can talk about it. You can dwell in it. But at the end of the day, when the dust settles, when it's all said and done, it's on you.
If it will be, it's up to me.
It's up to me. Absolutely.
And that's the approach you got to take. So let me ask you this: how important would you say, based off your own experiences, when you talked about earlier, when you look at people that are always second guessing the road they're on, they can't see clearly, maybe they're in a storm. How important is it to have mentors in your life that you can trust to know when you can't see clearly, or you might even think you're on the wrong road, to be able to speak into the situation, to keep you steady? Because we see so many people that seems they don't have that, and they self-sabotage when if they just listen. And I've always said this: the relationships and the voices that you learn to trust in peacetime, you don't need to forget that during wartime. In other words, when a storm comes, when the seas were calm, when everything was going smooth in your life, when you made the decision maybe to get into that new business venture and you was excited about it, or to get in that relationship and you was excited about it, but then life happens, trouble comes, trouble's inevitable, things are going to happen, but this too shall pass. But when you go through those times and those seasons, how important is it, in your opinion, to be able to have people, that trusted voices, mentors that you listen to, even when you think they're just slam crazy, but they're able to speak into it?
I think it's life and death, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. It may not be physical life or death, but for sure it could be financial life or death, or relationship life or death. And what I mean by that is the right people speaking into your life can save you. The wrong people can destroy you. Bottom line, you got to have the right voices. You got to know who to listen to, who to be around, and it's 100%, without a doubt, based on track record. You find someone who's steady, who's been steady through the good and the bad, the sunshine and the rain, through uphill and downhill, when you find those steady forces that you can turn to that will have a proven track record of being steady, that in their life they don't dwell on the past, they don't talk about the mistakes they made, and if they do talk about the mistakes they made, they find a positive in that, and they see that as a failure that launched them into the success they've made. Because everybody looks at failure differently. It's our attitude toward failure. We're all going to face failure every single day of our lives, and if you're not failing, you're not trying, and if you're not failing, you're not learning. So I think it's crucial to have those people. I think it's crucial to have, like in business, you and I, we've complimented each other in this area many times. Sometimes you have to remind me of the vision. Sometimes I have to remind you of the vision. Sometimes, because we are like-minded, we can hold each other accountable. We can speak into each other's life. But you will forge those relationships a lot of times, in good times, in celebratory times, in times where things are going smoothly. And those relationships that you forge will continue in times of war and in times of travesty and in times of lack. You can't forget those forces, because that's when you need them most.
Yeah. And that's one of the key things. I mean, just like with me, I mean, you know, when I look back at a difficult time I went through, really the primary relationship was my own dad, who'd been a leader in my life and I always looked up to. And if it hadn't have been for him encouraging me, speaking to me, and me listening when I didn't understand a lot of things, and he probably didn't even understand it. But when you don't understand, you always got to go back to what you know. You got to go back to the truth that you know. And having done all to stand, you keep going. I mean, again, you got two options. You die or you keep moving forward. It sounds ridiculous and maybe savage, but it's just that simple. And failure is going to happen. It's going to come. Failure is necessary for success. If you want to double your rate of success in life, you got to double your rate of failure. Some of the most phenomenal, world-renowned, legendary athletes, you know, to at the risk of sounding mundane, it's been said so much, but I mean, people like Babe Ruth, they struck out the most. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, you got to swing the bat. But one thing's for certain, if you don't swing the bat, you're not going to hit nothing.
Well, it's like Kobe Bryant holds the he's missed more shots than any other NBA player, but he's also made more. You know, Brett Favre at one time, these stats are probably old by now, but I know I was doing a talk for a men's group, and these stats at one time were accurate, but Brett Favre holds the record, or at least at one time held the record for the most interceptions, but he also held the record for the most completed passes. So failure is an important, necessary, crucial point. But getting back to that question you asked me, one thing I do want to add to that, you know, when you talk about how crucial is it to have those people to speak into your life, I will say this, and this is where I had to learn this the hard way. There's certain people that can speak into my life spiritually, but they can't talk to me about finances. Certain people that can help me with my marriage, but they can't talk to me about my money.
It's not cookie cutter.
And so you've got to find those certain people. I can talk to you about how to get my arms 4 or 5 inches bigger, okay? You know, I might not can talk to my wife about that because she ain't trying to grow her arms.
Right.
But there's certain things I can talk to her about that I might not necessarily, you know, that you and I might not be. You know, me and you ain't going to sit there and try to talk about how to understand the mysterious being that a woman is.
Right.
Because we're still trying to figure it out ourselves, but we can speak to the women, to our wives, that can help us in that. So you got to know who to speak to. And what you said, to me, is the key to everything. You got the known and you got the unknown. You can sit and question all day long the unknown, or you can concentrate on what you know, and you can do what you know how to do. And the unknown, a lot of times, will work itself out as you concentrate on the known.
Concentration is important because, again, what you focus on, you empower.
Well, what you think about is what you bring about.
And so if you're sitting there and what's focusing on the past going to do? Because in the past, you can't do nothing to change it. It's wasted energy. That energy that you're spending on that is there for you to build. It's there for you to take and move forward. Wherever your energy's going is what's going to grow. And so it's important, again, just to kind of cap that part off. I mean, you're going to fail. If you're going to do anything in life at all, if you're going to have anything worth having, you're going to fail. You're going to skin your knees. You're going to knock your head. You're going to go through difficult times. But your failure is not final, nor is it your failure is not final, nor is it fatal if you don't give up. The only way that it becomes fatal, the only way failure can kill you is if you quit, if you give up, if you just have no hope and you say, this is it, things ain't going to get any better, this is what my life's going to be, I'm throwing in the towel. But you got to understand, there's always another round. You just got to be willing to go out and fight it. And another thing that's going to help you have the best mental stability and really thrive in this area is understand it's your perception, okay? It's not the situation itself that stresses you out in life and causes you to go into depression. It's how you process it and perceive it that causes distress. And what you got to understand, if you'll look at the situation as this, here's what I tell to myself every morning. I say, Justin, everything that's going to happen to you today is going to happen for you, not to you. Everything that I'm going to experience this month, this year, in 2020, in the year to come, if I approach that and I tackle that mountain and I have gratitude in my heart, because gratitude is the healthiest of all human emotion, and if I'm grateful to be able to even have the experience to be able to have and be in an industry or being in a position that I have to handle problems and people's problems, because where no oxen are, the stall is empty. The more people you deal with and you help and you have, and the larger your organization is, the more problems you're going to have. In other words, the more cows you got, the more shit you're going to have to clean up. That's just a fact of the matter.
Right.
And so, but by the strength of an ox comes much increase. And so I can look at that, okay, I've got all this crap piling up over here, or I can look at it, I got all this crap piling up over here that I got to shovel away and deal with, but I wouldn't have all this prosperity and this increase if it was just me, my four, and no more. So it's perception. And me understanding, and just with the blank canvas of gratitude, getting up every morning and saying, everything in life, even the sucky crap, the crap that I'm going to hate, that's going to make me go through more cuss words than I know what to do with by the end of the day. But I understand that I'm going to be able to take something out of that. I'm going to get some pearl out of that irritation, that oyster, that pressure. There's no pearl created without an oyster, without a irritation happening inside that oyster. But there's going to be some pearl I can pull from this situation. It's happening for me, not happening to me.
Well, and it's the decision. It's perspective, everything you said. We can live in the why. Why did this happen? Why did I have to go through this? Why did this person walk out? Why did I lose that? Or we can live in the why not. Why not move on? Why not be successful? Why not start again? Why not keep running? Why not excel? Why not succeed?